album's near completion. It's going to be called The Second Hand of Silence. Much like the first record, I wanted to take an organic approach, and what I mean by that is try to eliminate a lot of, I hate to say artificial things, but just layered things. I just wanted to make something as live as possible. In the last decade, for me, I've taken a very holistic approach in my physical life, and I've also just tried very, very hard to find spirit, and when I express myself with my music, I find whenever I try to produce things in a way that you would do traditionally by layering things like that, I catch myself thinking, and the more and more I think, the more and more I feel like I'm putting myself into a physical world, which is this world, and it just kind of it messes up the whole flow of things for me, because I guess my biggest argument or conflict with how to express music is to show that the key to music is the spirit itself, the energy, and for me, I feel like that is in the moment. That energy is in the moment, and the best way to be in the moment is to try to play it live. And when you play things live, there are challenges, a lot of challenges, especially in any case that you may have that you're producing yourself, for example. That could even add a lot of challenges. Plus, playing live eliminates thinking, so you really have to be in the moment, and if you're not comfortable with being in the moment, playing live can be very, very frustrating. But for me, I feel the most comfortable in the moment, and that's where I feel like the connection with all of us really is. Because throughout the years, I've made a lot of records, and I've shared them with friends and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, that's good, that's good. Hey, watch my video. Oh yeah, that's nice, nice, nice." But every single time, I've always received the biggest praise, the most response whenever someone came to see me live, and for the longest time I just thought, well, maybe it was because I was overthinking, as I was producing, which is true, but it was also because I was in my moment, and in my moment is where I was my strongest, and the funny thing is, I love producing things. Producing is so fun for me. I do family videos and anything I can to try to express it. But with that being said, it's something different when trying to express music, in my opinion. So the live approach for me is where it is. And in addition to that, it's kind of quirky, I guess, for some people. But for me, I'm also into numbers and things like that, and imbalances. And one thing that I have tried to do, not just with the Hollow Body Experience music, but also with Jason and the Daisy Train, which was the band previous to these two records, was trying to tune into a 432. To me, it's more of a ratio and balance. The other way, 440 is perfection in the digital world, is the best way I could describe it. It's perfectly set to tens. I'm not going to get in depth with all the formula behind the equal temperament compared to what I'm using, which is just basically a Pythagorean tuning, of 432. But for me, trying to keep the tone of the music in tone with nature, which is not perfect, which has these odd offsets to continue growth. That, for me, tuning into 432 was an important thing to do, and I'll probably continue to do it for as long as I play. With that being said, what's different from the second hand of silence to its predecessor, the first record, Dark Side of Empty? The biggest difference is it's a one-man band album now. 2020 has been a very, very challenging time for all of us, and it's been, very crazy. But one good thing for me that I can look back on in 2020 is that aha moment I had around April, around my daughter's birthday, where I just discovered exactly how I could approach the record in a way that I have never thought of doing before, and it would fill in all the voids that I was feeling inside about the record. And that was adding drums with my feet, playing drums with my feet, and adding the harmonica. Now, when it comes to the drums, I started playing drums when I was 40. But it was a gift to myself when I was 40, because I've never been the athletic kind of guy, and really never had the time to do those things. So when I turned 40, I said, look, man, I got to start doing things, to keep myself in shape. So the drums was something that I've always envied, and it's always been in my life, playing in bands. And I just wanted to get a kit and, kind of be creative and play with it. And so I did, and mainly jamming onto 70s music for some reason. It was always the thing I liked to play along with for the first few years of playing drums. But so adding the drums with this record, obviously I couldn't do that live. So I had to make, I wouldn't even call them compromises, but I had to make changes on my approach. And the aha moment was, well, just play the beat with your feet, and keep the hi-hat kind of feel with your wrist of the guitar. There's some emptiness, but there's also some fullness. It's more so than the first record when you're just playing acoustic and singing, even though you're trying to add a lot of things to make it seem fuller. It's still, just like the title of the record, there's this emptiness. And I wanted to kind of, I didn't want that emptiness. Honestly, I'm so used to playing in a band that every time I discover a song that wants to be born and I start working on it, I always hear the big picture, what it would sound like with a band. And when I first started creating this second record, I thought, well, everybody's always wanted to make a record where they play all the instruments on it. So, that's what I did. I started playing the drums and playing bass and playing the guitar and composing the songs. And I was very, very excited about it. And before the pandemic got crazy there, I was able to have a perfect balance with all my bandmates, where I was able to commute from where I'm located right now on the Eastern Shore. I was able to commute back and forth to Richmond to play with Daisy Train, and I would share my stuff that I'd been working on with them, and obviously jam our music. But I'd share some things, and they would share some things that they were working on with me, and it was always, always a good time. And also in my longtime band Syndustry, Frank, John, and I, three of us are, we were getting back and forth, so I like sharing what I'm doing with everybody. But the toughest thing about sharing all your music with your friends who are your bandmates is I I care about them, and I never wanted to create anything to give them any impression that that I was replacing them with my own uh, uh, playing. You know, because I love playing in bands and I love the bands that I'm in, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want them to go, man, why did you get me to play on it? You know, because I would have loved that. But at the same time, there's something about the hollow body experience that I feel is a part of me that really needs to get out. And even with that being said, and even though I want to create a big band sound, I had to take a different approach. I was toiling around with a harmonica um, early in the year. Once I kind of had this aha moment that I was going to try to do this one-man band approach to the second record, uh, the harmonica kind of popped out to me pretty obviously. I mean, there's so many musicians out there that play guitar and harmonica, and so I mean it was kind of an obvious choice. But it was also for me. Never really toyed around with harmonica. I always kind of filled in things with keyboards. Um, so the harmonica was an interesting way to kind of still give it that keyboard kind of feel. And I like to play around with it, but over the funny thing about the harmonica is I didn't know how to play it at all. I sat there like a fool forever. I couldn't even match notes. I thought it'd be so easy. Oh yeah, I know notes. I could play by ear, you know. But for some reason, I was having so much difficulty with it. I was putting my guitar tuner clicking on it, trying to like, all right, wait, if this is C, which this, and I looked up a couple things, push, draw, and all that stuff. Watched a couple instructional videos, but just like guitar instructional videos, I have to caution myself of the risk of being caught up in too much thinking, and I just wanted to, kind of hit the road running. I just wanted to kind of dive into it and just play it. So it was very difficult in the beginning trying to figure out the harmonica, and I still haven't completely figured it out. Now that I'm feeling more and more comfortable with it, I probably will be able to sit down and appreciate some more instructional videos without seeming so lost. But, years and years of playing music, I wasn't completely wrong. My ears did start taking over once I quit thinking about the harmonica and just started playing the harmonica. And it started filling in nicely, and little by little, I felt comfortable with it. And now that have finished recording the record, and during the process of the record, I was constantly playing on cover songs, warming up and things like that. And the fun thing with harmonica is I could replace other instruments from other bands. I could replace it with harmonica and kind of give it a different twist. And all of it was just a way of trying to just discover, now what do I sound like now? What is this sound? And honestly, if someone were to ask, well, what do I want? I want rock and roll. I love rock and roll. It's as simple as that. I'm a pentatonic rock and roll kind of guy. And I'll always write and compose with rock in my heart. But with hollow body experience, I don't think that that's quite the only ingredient that is supposed to come on the table. And I have found in the last 2 years of really pushing hard with this project, or with this, is that uh, other things are coming on to the table. I mean, in my heart, I mean, tradition, I mean, for me, I was brought up on country, and I was brought up on blues and southern rock and 70s rock. And, you know, whether I realized it or not, it had made quite an impression in my mind and in my soul, you know. I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, my parents went to concerts all the time. My dad, you know, he was so proud of his reel-to-reel where he could just upload something, or not upload, but record, you know, his records on there so he wouldn't scratch his records, you know, and just hours and hours of listening to music. And back then I was, you know, really blessed because it wasn't the bubble age that we live in now. So, I mean, when my parents wanted to go to a concert, which they did quite a bit, they just threw me in their little backpack and took me, you know, so that was, you know, that vibration, I guess, you know, it made a big, you know, impression on me. But, so, I mean, as far as this record, not only is it a one-man band approach, once again, I'm just going to reiterate this, but once again, I wanted to make it live. I didn't want to get caught up in thinking. I wanted to really capture the moment, and I wanted to make sure that whatever it is that I captured was something that was now present. And that presence is the song, you know, and what I'm able to do with that song. And so that is what I wanted to do, you know, and the only way I could do it was spend hours tweaking each instrument and sound the best I could to get everything ready to go, and then hit the record button and practice, or not practice, but try your hardest. So basically, every song on the record is just multiple takes of the same song live until I finally said, okay, that's the best. Because what would really bum it out would be sometimes it would be the perfect harmonica part and I'd mess up on the vocals, or there was a perfect vocal part but I'd mess up the guitar. You know, there was always something. And I had to reach a point of compromise, or being realistic, I guess, to the expectations of human ability, or at least my human ability. And I said, look, I got to get it within like 99% accuracy. It can't be perfect, but it's got to get it out there, you know, the best that I would do live, you know. And like I said, I just took multiple takes. Once I knew what I was going to do, and most of the time the things that always delayed the most were the guitar parts, now the harmonica parts, and the vocals, you know, having a really true comprehensive plan of what the lyrics are going to be. You know, once I know the song, and sometimes you just got to kind of like demo it. That's what you got to usually do, is just demo it and then listen to it, go, okay, that's it. But multiple takes over and over and over and over again until finally it's like, okay, that's the one. And then you just have to stop and say, look, that's the best. That's, you know, out of X amount of takes, this is where you're the most consistent. This is the record. So, there you go. Obviously a lot of technical difficulties when you're producing yourself. And a lot of discoveries. I would say the most difficult thing, technical wise, was, well, I guess for anybody, you know, how to isolate the instruments as much as you can so that you can really mix the tracks later to get them to sound the best. And I knew that there was limitations to gates and compressors and stuff like that. So I just tried to make sure that I would have to accept the fact that there'd be bleed throughs, and then I'd have to work with the bleed throughs the best I could, to make it sound real. So I mean, the microphone on the vocals is going to pick up a little bit of my actual feet hitting the pedals of the drums, even though it's not the track for the drum, but it's the best it could be. And it's about the best it's going to be when it sounds live. And there's a few things I'm going to switch over to get live, but so that's about it.